For 15 years, I was the perfect, invisible daughter. The straight-A student, the one who fixed the Wi-Fi, the one who navigated the dense, complex thicket of their small, secret empire's accounts after working a 12-hour day. My parents, Paul and Sharon Hayes, barely noticed me. All their attention, their praise, and their resources reserved for my sister, Chelsea the golden child. We lived in an affluent yet strangely suffocating part of Northern Virginia, Nova, a region built on high-tech government contracts and six-figure salaries. I was the one poised to join that world. Chelsea was the one perpetually waiting for her big break as a lifestyle influencer. A break that only existed on my parents' generous dime. I, Audrey Audi Hayes, was 30 years old and had just completed my master's in data architecture from a prestigious university, securing a high-level, fully remote data strategist position with a major DC firm. A job that came with a salary package well into the low six figures, stock options and full benefits. I was a genuine achievement, but in the Hayes household, success was only valuable if it was marketable and required zero effort from Paul and Sharon. Their true focus was Chelsea, 7 years my junior. Chelsea had just graduated from a mediocre state college with a degree in communications, a 4-year extended vacation they'd funded without question. Her graduation party was a lavish affair, catered and complete with a professional photographer, while my graduate hooding ceremony had been met with a distracted "That's nice, dear," before my mother reminded me to transfer the rent payments for the storage units. The Hayes family business was their side hustle, a modest but exceptionally profitable network of 5 self-storage facilities scattered across the state. Paul handled the logistics, the occasional repair, the security checks, but the true engine of the profitability, the critical infrastructure that allowed them to run it all without a full-time staff, was the complex, custom-built technological backend. That backend was me. Over the last 4 years, while I was simultaneously earning my degrees, I had designed and implemented the entire automated system. The proprietary script that optimized rental rates based on demand algorithms, the secure dedicated VPN network, the automated tax accounting software that saved them thousands in CPA fees, and the encrypted cloud infrastructure that housed all the tenant data and payment portals. It was brilliant, complex, and utterly indispensable. And I did it all for free, out of a misplaced sense of filial duty and a desperate, never satisfied craving for their approval. The moment of truth arrived the Saturday after my graduation. Chelsea was basking in the glow of her graduation gift reveal. There, parked in the newly landscaped driveway, landscaping I had also organized and paid for, was a brand new, gleaming white Audi A4, complete with a giant red bow draped across the hood. My father, Paul, stood next to it, swelling with pride, while Chelsea squealed and hugged my mother, Sharon, who dabbed her eyes with a silk handkerchief. I watched from the patio, holding my small, unadorned graduation coffee mug. They finally noticed me and beckoned me over to the outdoor dining table. "Audrey, come join us," Sharon chirped, her tone sickly sweet. I walked over, expecting, foolishly, childishly, some acknowledgement. Perhaps a heartfelt card. Maybe even a small toast. Instead, Paul sat down, his face instantly shifting from celebratory joy to businesslike austerity. He slid a single, crisp, itemized document across the polished mahogany table towards me. It was printed on letterhead and felt official, sterile, and damning. "Now that you're done with school and have secured your big job, it's time to transition to full adult responsibility, AUD, Paul announced, his voice devoid of any warmth. "We've done the math. For years of living at home, utilities, food, and general wear and tear on the property, we've been very generous, but a lease is a lease." I looked down at the document. It was a detailed, meticulously calculated ledger titled, "Room and Board Charges. Audrey Hayes, 2018 to 2022. Every utility bill, every grocery receipt, even a prorated charge for internet access and property upkeep was listed. The total, circled in red ink at the bottom, was a staggering $40,000. Chelsea, still admiring her reflection in the Audi's window, giggled. "Wow, AUD. You owe them a lot of money. Good thing you have that fancy corporate job now, huh?" My mother nodded approvingly. "We're preparing you for the real world, honey. Chelsea needs a new car to build her brand and network. You need the discipline of clearing your debts." The realization hit me with the physical force of a tidal wave. They hadn't seen me as a daughter since I turned 18. I was an asset, a utility, and now a debtor. They valued their golden child's superficial networking over my entire academic and professional success. They saw $40,000 of rent, but completely discounted the 4 years of free, expert-level technical consulting I had provided. Services that would have cost them over $150,000 on the open market, and were the sole reason their side business was so profitable. The sound of that paper scraping the mahogany, the scent of the new car leather, the callous indifference in my parents' eyes. It was the sound of my childhood ending. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I simply inhaled deeply, feeling the familiar, burning disappointment crystallize into pure, cold resolve. I see, I said, my voice shockingly level. I picked up the bill, folded it precisely, and slipped it into my pocket. Thank you for clarifying my position in the family. You're welcome, darling, Sharon replied, oblivious, already turning back to admire Chelsea. We expect the first payment next month. I spent the rest of the day in my room, not packing my clothes, but meticulously dismantling the digital infrastructure of their empire. I was a data architect. I knew exactly where all the skeletons were buried. The code lock. I first pulled the master keys, changing all the administrative passwords, API keys, and server access tokens for their 5 storage facility portals. The sophisticated rate optimization and payment processing scripts I had written were now orphaned, unable to connect to the central financial ledger. They wouldn't fail immediately, but they would immediately cease updating. Within 72 hours, the system would start generating critical errors. The financial blackout. I revoked the remote access for the specialized financial software, which I managed, and deleted all local copies of the automated tax reconciliation script. Only I had the decryption keys for the most recent tax filings. The ghost. I did leave them a breadcrumb. I sent one encrypted, anonymized email to Paul's personal account with a single line. The system requires immediate maintenance to avoid critical failure. He would, of course, ignore it, thinking it was generic spam. I left that night, not in a dramatic confrontation, but quietly, precisely at 2 a.m., in my own reliable, paid-off Honda Civic. I took only 2 suitcases and my 2 work laptops. I had already secured a lease on a gorgeous, modern apartment in Arlington, Virginia, closer to my new office, a quiet, symbolic move from the family's old money suburb to my new money tech hub. For 2 weeks, glorious silence. I started my new job, thriving in an environment where my skills were valued and highly compensated. I ignored the single, petulant text from Chelsea complaining that she had to buy her own gas for the Audi. Then the chaos began. The technical system I had built started to rot. Day 15, the first call. Paul called, his voice tight with irritation. Audrey, I don't know what's going on with the rental system. The automatic payments for the Loudon facility all bounced, and I can't access the accounting dashboard remotely. Oh, that's strange, Dad, I replied, perfectly mirroring Sharon's past detachment. Did you try turning it off and on again? You know I'm awfully busy with my new job. You should call a professional consultant. My hourly rate is actually quite steep now. He sputtered. Your rate? You don't have a rate. You're my daughter. Besides, you wrote the code. Just tell me the key. I am a data architect. Dad, not an IT service desk. And as your recently itemized bill clearly indicated, our relationship is transactional. You charged me $40,000 for a shared bedroom. I'm not sure where you got the idea my specialized coding services were free. I hung up. Day 20, the meltdown. The script had entirely failed. The rental rates stopped optimizing, costing them thousands in lost revenue. Worse, the lack of payment processing meant they were losing tenants and risking legal action. Sharon called, her voice high-pitched and hysterical. Audrey, the bank is calling. We can't reconcile the Q3 statements, and we have an auditor coming next week. We don't have the password for the tax files. You have to help us. Help you? I asked, allowing a hint of cold fury into my voice. You charged your daughter rent while giving your other daughter a luxury car. You put a price tag on my existence. Now the price for my labor is simple, market rate. Day 30. The desperation. Paul and Sharon arrived unannounced at my sleek, minimalist Arlington apartment building. A secure building they could not enter. Paul, standing by the intercom, looked 10 years older, haggard and sweaty in his expensive but wrinkled shirt. He was begging. "Audrey, please. We need you. We're going to lose the business. We'll lose the house. Chelsea is crying. She doesn't understand why the Audi's insurance is so high. We'll forgive the $40,000 rent. Just come home." That was the line. "We'll forgive the rent." As if they were granting me a monumental favor. "I won't be coming home, Paul. I never will," I stated, watching his desperate face in the tiny screen of the intercom. "And you won't be forgiving anything. You owe me." I sent a final text message immediately after, ensuring the paper trail was clean. It was a formal invoice from my new, legally registered consulting LLC. The invoice detailed software development, custom rate optimization script 200 hours at $250 per hour equals $50,000. Data architecture and VPN setup. 150 hours at $200 per hour equals $30,000. Financial systems integration. 4 years retainer fee equals $70,000. Total outstanding, $150,000. A note was attached. Payment due in 30 days. Failure to remit payment will result in filing a mechanic's lien against all 5 storage facility properties, based on the documented value of the intellectual property that constitutes the core operating system of your business. This is your price for my services, calculated at fair market value. I suggest you consult a lawyer, one who doesn't use their children as free labor. They had set the terms of our relationship: transactional, cold, and financially driven. I simply raised the market rate. The resulting legal battle was agonizing for them. They had no contracts, no non-disclosure agreements, and I had meticulously documented every hour of work on my time-tracking software, something I built for myself, not for them. Faced with the lien and the imminent collapse of their profitable side hustle, Paul and Sharon were forced to settle. They liquidated one of the smaller storage facilities just to pay my invoice and cover the emergency IT consulting fees required to rebuild their system from scratch. Without my code, I walked away not only debt-free, but $150,000 richer, having extracted the true, quantifiable value of my time and intellect. Chelsea lost the Audi. They had to sell it to cover the immediate fees. Paul and Sharon were financially crippled, forced to work significantly harder just to maintain their baseline standard of living, constantly haunted by the complexity of the business they no longer truly controlled. I finally achieved the ultimate form of independence. I was invisible to them, untouchable, and irrevocably successful on my own terms. I didn't just leave their toxic world, I foreclosed on it. And the best part? Every time they struggled with a quarterly tax filing or a bounced payment, they were forced to remember the daughter whose value they once quantified at 0, only to find out she was the most expensive resource they ever owned.